Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home. Welcome to Strong Dads. This is Merle Hutchinson being joined by my wonderful partner,
Thank you.
Kyle.
I thought you were going to say something really mean.
Oh, I was thinking about it. After the way you've been teeing me up already this morning. Oh, Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you? It's a little rainy out.
It is. First day of fall, and man, you can just feel it. It just hit us.
I know the girls were talking about going out and all the the leaves are going to start changing colors But you know what?
Time for pumpkin spice.
We're going to Gatlinburg this weekend, so I'll get to enjoy all the beautiful weather. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Actually, this weekend's supposed to be pretty nice, so you should be able to enjoy that.
I know.
All right. Enough about you.
All right. Yeah.
Why are we here today?
We got a special guest in the house. We got a guest. But right before we hit the record button here, we were you and I were talking, and I hear there's a funny story, and I will let you explain, being that you were the recipient of an email I heard.
Before we introduce our guests, so you know how in our shows we often say, hey, if you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to email us. And we really don't get that much.
What do you mean? I thought we got thousands of emails.
Well, we get an occasional here and there. But I got an email that was a script, an entire script for a show. And I called Kyle and I said, Kyle, you're not going to believe this. I got this guy an entire script for a show of topics
a show for us.
that he wants to talk about. And we started laughing. It was like, well, we got to get to know this guy. We would like to welcome today Carl Brown.
Thank you very much.
Carl, thanks for joining us on Strong Dads.
I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, and so the cool thing about this is Carl is a dad, and we're going to get into more of that. But the idea that he took us up on our offer, but also came in with so many thoughts about fatherhood. And obviously because he is a dad, but taking it very seriously and mixing that fatherhood in with his faith as to why he's so motivated to have this conversation. Mm-hmm. So we decided, what the heck, let's get Carl on here.
I like it.
Yeah, let's just do this. And because it just had some great conversation. Carl, you and I met just for a little opportunity to have lunch and to banter back and forth a little bit about what's in your mind about it. And I could just see the passion that Carl had. And I said, hey, how about you join us on the show and let's just have some conversation.
I mean, you already wrote the show, so you
might
as well come on now.
Was it like 5,000 word email? Was that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought, what the heck, does he want me to edit this script or what? Is this a book I'm supposed to be going through? It was funny. So we are going to...
You can let him have it one time. Just pop it right there if you want.
So we are going to get into our conversation with Carl and talk a little bit about what fatherhood is and being a strong dad is to him and just what that looks like to all of us. Before we do that, how about let's thank a couple sponsors.
I like it. For sure. Strong Dads, we'd love to thank Kramer's Beer House for coming alongside of us down on Route 128. For sure, go down there, check them out. Let Mark know we sent you down there. Go get a good little pork chop. I'm sure here with the fall season, I'm sure the patio's still open out back. It'll be a good time. Go sit by the river, so it'll be a good time.
Yeah, well, Kramer's is all about the whole German theme. And so it seems like all the German stuff seems to happen in October with Oktoberfest.
The German beers are coming out. So.
They are. So it is a good time to go down to Kramer's. Yep. Also, we'd like to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions, as Casey has been with us sponsoring the work that we do here at Strong Dads as well as Rock Solid Families. We want to thank those guys. And they also are coming into their fall season. Man, mom is the word. They got moms everywhere down there. Casey's. So help us out by helping those guys out. Yep. Go down and visit Casey's Outdoor Solutions for all your outdoor needs. All right. So, I think sometimes when Kyle and I do shows, we always think, well, who's listening? right? What do people hear and take to heart?
Yep.
Just because something's a big deal to Kyle and I, it's because we've kind of thought about it and put our mind and some energy into it. But you never know exactly what hits a listener,
Yep.
right? What prompts a listener. So I have a question, Carl, first off, before we get to know anything more about you. What prompted you to write us back or to even listen to Strong Dads to begin with?
Well, several years ago, this would have been 2008, 2009. I thought to myself, man, I should start like a YouTube channel or something and call it Training Dads or something like that. I had learned, either on the job training as being a dad, or I had learned from others about being a dad, and it's just such an important role. And so what you're doing is something that I'd had a real passion for, and I never had the time, never spent the time. But when I found Strong Dads, I thought this is exactly what I was thinking of, and it's so great to see that there's a resource out there for men. There's just not many resources out there for men. There's very few people who are willing to tell you how to be a good dad in the right way. Plenty of people will tell you, you got to do this, you got to do that, but it's so off the mark. It's either empty promises or it's like it's worse than empty promises. You get the opposite of what is promised. And so seeing what Strong Dads is, I just thought, man, good for these guys. And that's why I just started writing like, no, I wish I could get on there and share some of the things I've learned, because I know that it's rare. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for listening, and we also just thank you for the idea of recognizing. Kyle and I come to form Strong Dads not because we thought it would be profitable or a marketing thing. We came because it was a rooted passion in our heart and the life that we were living. And Kyle seen it firsthand in the fire world, working in I'll say the projects of Dayton and inner city, very difficult situations with fatherless homes, me working in the schools and dealing with it. And so it's just very real. So one of the things that we try to talk about here at Strong Dads is whatever we talk about here is not something that was strictly read out of a book. Yep. It's real life stuff. It's like, no, this is what really we see happening. Yep. And that's why when we try to deliver a message, we want to be real. We want to talk. Obviously, we want things to be backed up by science, and we want to be in line with that. And we're not trying to basically reinvent the wheel, but we're not going to read a script with how to be the perfect daddy. Yeah. Right. We really just want to speak to men and be real and honest. And so we appreciate really that you hear that.
There's a business right by the church I go to, and they have a different message on a sign outside their business. And the message they had out there a few weeks ago was, a wise man once said nothing. Right. And I thought, there's several different ways to take that. But one of the ways to take that is, wisdom that you're looking for a lot of times goes unsaid.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to really work at finding it.
Yeah.
So and that's what you're doing here. You're imparting that wisdom, and you're inviting other people to contribute to that. That's what is so great about what you guys do.
Good. Well, thank you. So, all right, give us some background. All right. So, who's Carl Brown? Tell us a little about you, your family. What sparks your interest in this?
Sure. So, my wife Amy and I have been married, 27 years, and
good job.
Thank you.
You need to know that date right now, right?
Yeah,
I get in trouble sometimes too.
We did a 25th anniversary, renewal of vows ceremony, and it was fantastic. And so she's an amazing woman, and I'm just really thankful to God for her in my life. And we have 6 amazing kids. Wow. And we've lost 5 kids. My wife will be quick to remind me, but that's a real reality. But 6 beautiful, wonderful, smart kids, and along the line, so the background on me is my father left us when I was very young, and that left me, definitely sad, right? And sure. But also there was a big vacuum of, what can someone else do to tell me what a dad should tell a kid, right? And I see that I've seen that as I raise my kids, and from being infants, a toddler to preteen, teen, every phase of life, it's like, gosh, this requires a different set of skills.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be great if there was a dad there to tell me,
Right, yeah.
Hey, this is how to navigate some of these waters. But I didn't have that. And so for me, what that created was a real deliberate, intentional, I had to go out and find out, what does it mean to be a good dad? And so I did that. I set out to do that. And in a lot of ways, that gave me a real advantage at being able to be deliberate with my kids. And so our kids range in age from 10 to 24, and they're all, they're all very, they're educated, they're smart, they're athletic, they're very active in our church. And I couldn't be happier with where I am right now in terms of how we've raised our kids.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? We come on here and talk a lot about the generational effects of an absent dad or a dad that's not involved. And to see dads that have gone through that, have been scarred from a father figure absent, and in realizing what that did to you and knowing that you don't want that for your kids, and to change the cycle, so that way we can, build on the idea of a strong dad and begin to instill those values and what we want from a strong dad, because now your kids are going to walk away, become adults, and realize, man, that's what a strong dad looks like, right? Where you didn't have that example. And I think it goes to the idea that, man, if that is you out there, if you're listening and you're in a situation where your dad was not there, man, it's time to fix it. Just like you did, you made that conscious decision. I'm going to fix this. I'm not going to, I'm not going to continue that cycle. I think that's really cool.
I love the conscious decision part, because that's the thing that I work with young men all the time. And oftentimes in my world, they come because there is a brokenness.
Yep.
And when they come in, soon in that first conversation, I'll ask, what's your dad's story? Tell me about your dad. And Carl, it is, I'd fail to say 100%, but I have been the 90% of these guys that are coming to me that are in a mess of life have a broken dad experience.
Yep.
And many of them don't recognize that they've got a broken dad experience and how it's impacting them. They're just, because they're kind of like, well, I'm going to put my nose down to the grindstone. I'm just going to make my way in life, and I'll do my thing. But some of them go, oh, I have a hole in my heart because I don't know what it is to be a good dad. Yeah. And so the conscious effort that you said, I got to feel this. I got to be active in pursuing what it's like. And so I applaud you for doing that. Part of my job when I work with these young guys is, let's fill that. Let's get an image, a model, so that you know what to start shooting for.
And when I look back on the life of my father, he died in 2008, and he was pretty young still. I can't really fault him, because guess what his dad did to him?
Yeah,
the same thing. His dad left him when he was real young, so he didn't have a father figure. So, to those dads out there who are facing that situation, break the chain.
Yes,
you can do it. Just be deliberate about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you had talked about different life stages, raising kids and different tools and equipment, and you were saying you have your kids from 10 years old to 24. Correct?
That's right.
Talk a little bit about some of those. Obviously, that's a massive range, and obviously each kid's requiring a little something different from you. Can you kind of talk into that a little bit?
Yeah. I think about every stage requires something different, but that's one of the biggest surprises of being a father, right? And before we had kids, my wife's sister had 2 kids, and so I spent a lot of time with them. Every time we were together with her family before we had kids, I would be spending time with them, and I became the hands down easy best uncle, right?
Right, yeah.
Because I was in the basement playing with the kids the whole time, and then and it was through that experience that I realized, oh, whoa, now they're a little older, and playing Lava Monster in the basement isn't going to cut it now. I got to. So what can I do now? And it's not that I was, setting out to be the best uncle. I mean, necessarily, but I wanted to do well by them, right? And so I had to think about, okay, what is it at this stage? And so how does that play out now? It's preparing a kid for college. It's preparing a kid for the dating scene. It's preparing a kid even for a temporary job, like a part-time job as a teenager. It's helping them navigate junior high or high school, and it's a leadership principle, right? You got to show people what's next, and how much more do you have to do that to your kids? You just have to show your kids what's next, and it doesn't take rocket scientists to figure that out. Hey, the leaves are going to change, they're going to fall, and it's going to be winter. And then it's going to be spring, and just apply that concept to other things. Like, you want, like my 10-year-old, which one do you like better, soccer or basketball? I like soccer better. Okay, well, that's fine. I don't have any preference, but just keep in mind, is there a real future for soccer? There's just not a lot of opportunities in your life after you get into high school to play soccer. So if you want to play soccer now, that's great, but just don't want you to think about that.
Yeah,
right?
so that idea, like we always would tease our kids, because we record our kids every New Year's Eve.
That's great.
Just we do like a little 5-minute. How old are you now?
That's
what do
great.
you want to do for a living?
Who's your boyfriend?
Who's your boyfriend? and they actually have always loved it, And then when we adopted our new kiddos, we started it with them, and they're always like, "We're going to record on New Year's. We're going to record. But one of our questions always, what do you want to do when you get older?
Yeah.
And every one of the boys, we have 4 boys. Every one of the boys in that 7 to really 12 age. I want to play professional football.
Right. Yep.
I want to play in the NFL. And to your point, it's like, well, we enjoy them being in that phase.
Yep.
But when they start to get into that 12, 13, 14, you have to start thinking about the next season.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's the future really?
Hutch, that's a great idea for a dad out there in your audience to start doing, New Year's Eve, run a video. I've done a similar thing, but it's not every year, and it's much more shallow. But it's just, we're decorating the Christmas tree, and so I'll videotape. Tell me what's your favorite Christmas ornament?
Yeah.
And by the way, like when we go on a vacation, we always get a Christmas ornament for that year based on whatever happened for our vacation.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to watch them say, "This is my favorite ornament," when they were 3 versus 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yours has definitely got a lot more depth to it. That's great.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. And whenever our older kids come back, they like to dig out that video and watch, because they get to see just whether they were missing a tooth or who their friends were.
Or they want to delete that one from 2018.
And we've always been quick to show them to their now spouses.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome.
This is what you married, are you?
So what you're doing, there's a principle there, right? And that is you're creating memories. And in this case, you're cataloging them, right? You're storing them. But that's a key thing. And I remember, my dad, my mom had full custody, and so my dad, he lived on the East Coast, and so we only saw him once a year for a couple of years anyway. And one time I remember he came and he just laid on the couch and watched TV the whole time. Wow. And my younger brother, I have 2 brothers, like drank a bottle of perfume while
oh my God.
Oh, wow.
And it's like my dad was just so disengaged, just not deliberate. And I don't know what I'm saying here is create memories, but don't have those memories be having to call, disease control.
Right. Memories will be created. Memories are they going to be good or bad?
Yeah.
Right?
Your kids are going to talk about you. They're going to make fun of you. Yeah. Choose the things that they're going to make fun of you about.
Right. That's right. That's a
Jen
great
and I talk
point.
about all the time. Like, I wonder what our girls are going to say about us. In 20 years. Like, what are they going to be angry? Like, golly, why did mom and dad do that?
Yes.
Why do they continue to do that?
It's actually so much fun, because when our older kids come back, they tee us up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Like stuff that you didn't think was either that big of a deal. They're like, yeah. Dad, this is what you used to do. And like, I did not. Yes, you did. And
Right.
and they just start going through it, you know. And it is funny. It's humbling.
Yeah.
But you just have to realize that's what their memory is.
Exactly.
That was their experience.
Yep.
So
Carl, let's get in before we hit the record button. You had started talking about some of the things that you do with your kids. Obviously, you know, again, ranging in a wide range of age. So, what are some of the things? You know, obviously, you sent the email to Merle to talk about strong dads, to talk with strong dads. What are some of the things that you really feel? Man, what are some things? How do we be strong dads, right? What are some of the things we can do? We can instill in our dads today, like talk to our dads, talking with us. You know, so what are some of the things we can do for our kids to kind of instill those strong dad values?
So, and I've got a bunch of different things that are just quirky things that I do. But for example, like no insulting each other, right? The kids are not allowed to insult each other. No insults, period. Our kids are not allowed to complain about the food, because then they're insulting their mom, and they may not even realize that. But like, oh, I hate this. No, you don't say you hate this food.
yeah.
And no insulting. Yeah, and I don't have to tell them that more than twice when they're 4. But I also tell them, don't talk bad about yourself. That will give other people permission to talk bad about you. Mm-hmm. And then, my daughter was in college, and she called me and she said, hey, there was this girl on our floor, and she was just really depressed, and she was talking bad about herself. And I said, hey, don't talk bad about yourself, because that'll give other people permission to talk bad about you. And
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
Because I love what you just said about no insulting.
No insulting, ever.
I mean, when you think about how, we talk in our house about sarcasm. Yeah. And we talk about that because Linda and I are sarcastic people. We grew up that way. We grew up with a lot of siblings and trash talk. Okay. Right. And so we've talked about how that has gotten us in trouble. It's gotten us trouble in our marriage, and it's gotten us in trouble with our kids. Right? So when we're all in a good mood, we're sarcastic. But when we're not in a good mood, the sarcasm doesn't seem to float as well. Yeah. Right? But the insulting, I never really just thought about how often we can trash talk somebody else. Right? That's not even in the presence of the room. My teacher is this, or my coach is this, and the insults that we teach our kids. That's a great point. I love it. Just had to touch base on that.
Yeah, and so that has contributed to really good relationships between our kids, right? And there's another thing that we do as a wrap up to our family prayers every night. We go through this thing, and I came up with a mnemonic for it so the kids will never forget it. It's GRACE, and it's G. Start with gratitude, and we go around the room. What were you grateful for today, right? And then R, review. How did you do today, right? Like, and then A, ask, or people like, what do you want to ask God for? And C, contrition, right? And and I'm just going to stop there for a second, because it's at that point where the kids apologize to each other for anything they did that day. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how great that has been for our family. And I didn't start doing that until, maybe 10 years ago or something. But immediately, as soon as we started doing that, it changed the dynamics of our family. Because our kids, when one kid says something that they didn't mean to the other kid, neither one of them are happy about that, right?
Right.
The one has regret, and the other one doesn't know that they have regret, but they have regret. And every night we stop and say, gosh, okay, you know what? I did this to you today. I was impatient or whatever, and I apologize. Or I said this and I shouldn't have said it. And it helped all of those kids have better relationships, because they're starting with a clean slate every day.
Man, I think that is so fantastic. The idea that you consciously made an effort to teach your kids, first off, to apologize is a very humbling experience. Right. And in the culture that we live in, arrogance is number one. I am not apologizing for anything because I am perfect, right? And we
sign of weakness.
Yes, yes. And so one of the things that we are called to do is to be able to humble ourselves and to be able to submit. And we have not actively like that, but the whole idea of insisting that your kids apologize, own what they've done wrong, and then apologize for it, and then us modeling that.
Right.
Like, that's tough, right? You don't realize how tough that is until you have to apologize to your wife or to the kids. Like, as a parent, learning how to apologize to your kids, because you screw up, right? Man, I'm sorry I said that. I didn't need to say that. That was the wrong thing. That's not the kind of dad I want to be. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
Well, and the experience I had with my father, one thing I learned about that as it relates to, apologies is I wasn't mad at my dad, right? I mean, I was sad that he left, and I wanted to have a relationship with him, but I wasn't mad at him. And someone, just a couple of years ago said, "Man, your dad was kind of a jerk to you," and it's like, well, I guess, my point is that despite what my dad did, I still wanted to forgive him. And at some point I realized this with my kids is like, when I mess up, and I have pride, I have an ego, I struggle with vanity. I don't want to say, "Oh, I messed up," and I don't want to apologize. But when you do that, the kids, they want to love you,
right?
They want to. So when I have apologized, it elevates everything. It ends up being much better than it would have been if I hadn't made a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great point.
What's the last E that you got? The E left, right?
Very good, very good. That last E kind of it can get lost in the shuffle, and it's in vision. It's at the end of the day, right? So you said, G, here's what I'm grateful for. Review the day, how I did. A, ask, what do I want to ask God for? C, contrition, and then E, envision. How is tomorrow going to be better than today? What are you going to do tomorrow? And this is one of the toughest things to get my kids to do, right? is to do that one. They just want to be like, okay, come on, we're done.
Right.
And I want to say, we should write down 3 things to do to make tomorrow terrific. Right? There's a little alliteration there, but no, I don't do that part. But but it's at least a point for them to stop and say, okay, what about tomorrow? Because then tomorrow, when we do that review, that's what they're reviewing. What did they? Okay, my plan for tomorrow is this. Whatever that is, because we're all works in progress. We're all working on getting better. So whether that's with school or sports or with ourselves, and being more patient or whatever it is. So I'm glad you asked. Envision.
I think that's cool. So I have a question for you, because I'm running through that scenario in my house, like me doing that. And so how well do your kids receive that process? All right. And do they ever turn it back on you? Like, well, Dad, you have not done this or that.
Well, first of all, one of the most important messages to give dads is don't be a hypocrite.
Right.
That's the number one thing that will destroy, any moral authority you have, and anything. If you hold them accountable to something that you're not holding yourself accountable to, forget about it. And the bigger the issue, the worse it's going to be. So number one is work on yourself, right? Yeah. And so I do that. I'm always working at becoming better. But I think the other part of your question is, how do you get your kids to sit down to do family prayers, right? How do you do that? And again, it was maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I thought to myself, hey, our kids don't complain about family prayers. Mm-hmm. And my wife said, well, that's because we don't give them an option.
Right.
That's what we've always done, as long as the kids can remember. It's time for prayers. And so they receive it really well. They know that family prayers is coming. It's just a matter of, is it 8, 8:30, 9, whatever, 9:30, and it's an expectation. And here's another really important principle, right? Anything that's good that you want for yourself or you want for your life, your kids, it's very unlikely that they're going to outdo you in, right? If you're not working out, they're not going to work out.
Right.
If you're not eating healthy, they're not going to eat healthy. If you're not praying, they're not going to pray.
Yeah.
They're not going to outdo you in doing good things. So you have to be really, really diligent about that. And you have to, and this is one of the things that's unique, I think, to men is the family going to pray together? Well, only if dad insists.
Yes. Yep.
So you want to be a strong dad, you have to insist, and you have to be the one that leads it every time. Because if I don't lead family prayers, it's just not going to happen.
Right. I mean, there's so much data on that reinforces the idea of dad's praying, dad's getting their family to church, the sustainability of that when dad does it versus when mom does it.
Right.
You know, it doesn't mean that mom shouldn't do it. Like if dad's not around, mom should definitely do it. And if dad's not doing it, mom should do it. All right. But when dad takes the lead, it is the natural masculine strength that those kids are attracted to.
Right.
Yeah. Especially if it's not bathed in hypocrisy.
Exactly.
If they see that dad is through and through working to be what he's talking as.
Yeah.
I want to make a point here because I'm thinking like, well, what are our dads out there? What do our strong dads think about this? Here's kind of the key that I'm grabbing from some of our conversation here. Whether it's an evening prayer that you say is whatever, 8:30, 9 o'clock, or it is, for us, we do the mealtime. Mm-hmm. And we do a very similar thing going around the table. We even have question cards and whatever, and it's what we've always done. And now our kids are actually saying, what's the question of the night? Like
great,
they prompt it, you know, and
Yeah.
sometimes I don't feel like doing it, but they
Right.
get it rolling, okay?
Right.
The point is, what sets your kids up to having an expectation of how you're going to live? Whether it's the prayer time at night or the meal time, or maybe it's something that you do on a regular basis. Maybe it's the breakfast table, whatever.
Right.
What are you doing that is going to make your kids realize, oh, this is how we roll in our house, and it's glorifying the family and God.
Right. You know, when my son, my oldest son, he's the second child. There was a point in time when I said, you know, take these shoes upstairs, you know, put this over there and do this. And I looked at his face and I realized I just asked him to do three things at once. And I mean, now maybe none of them are going to get done. And I thought, well, I got to really think about this. What am I asking this person? This is a human person at their level. What am I trying to accomplish here? And then the whole dynamic I'm talking about right now is like brush your teeth, right? How many times do you have to tell a human being to brush their teeth before they will not need anyone to tell them to do it? And I've got the answer. I mean, maybe this isn't scientifically accurate, but it's like 7,000 times, right?
I thought I was going to say 10,000.
We're almost there, Jenny. We're almost there.
7,000 times. That's so.
I have a son who's proving your theory wrong.
Right.
We're well into 20,000.
Yeah. So, you know, if you have to tell a human being 7,000 times, I mean, you know, I don't know about you guys. No one needs to tell me I need to brush my teeth before I, you know, leave the bedroom in the morning and before I go to bed at night. But I'm going to have to tell another human being this 7,000. If I'm going to have to tell them that 7,000 times, and to me that's an intuitive thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Then how many times or in how many ways am I going to have to show them something that's not intuitive?
What a great point. So it speaks to the value of repetition.
Absolutely.
Right?
Consistency.
Yes, and just constantly coming back around it. And we take it for granted when, like, now that I brush my teeth without thinking about
Right,
it,
exactly.
like
Yeah.
we say, like, oh, well, why would I don't even think about that. But I do remember a time when I wasn't that as a child,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, it's the same thing with taking your kids to church. It's the same thing with praying before meals or in the evening. It's that thing. It's the same thing about apologizing.
Exactly.
Right? How many times? That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Right? To practice that and to practice.
So one thing when I look back on, having raised kids, and I've got, 3 kids who are now 18 or older, and then another one that's really close. So it's like they're adults, right? They're on their own. I'm not going to be there to tell them what or how to do things. And then I think about what went right about this, right? What and one of the things that I've asked the kids, like, what did I do right? And one of the things that comes back is this little routine that I did with them when they were very, very young, and I was putting them to bed, and I would say, I've got some questions for you, right? And once, as soon as I said that, they knew exactly what was coming because I'd done it
in their head a little bit at the beginning.
I just want to go to sleep, Dad.
No, I'm talking about 2 and 3 and 4 years old.
Wow.
They were excited, right? This is like, they want like a story time or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would say, it's a set of questions, and I would always start with the same first question, which is, what's a fork for? And then they would, they'd giggle, and they know what's coming, and they're laughing about it, and they'd say, for eating. And I said, that's right, good job. What's a pillow for, right? And I'm just looking around the room trying to find objects to say, what's that for? What's a book for reading? What's a car for riding? Or and then I'd say, and what are you for? And the first time that I ever asked them that, it's like, oh my gosh, that's a good question. What am I for? And then I would tell them, you're for loving God. And I did that with them every night for several years, and then 2 kids together, or 3 kids together, whatever. And that has really stuck with them. And then I say, okay, so how do you love God? And you do that through sacrificing. That's how you know someone else loves you. So here's a great story for you. A guy is dating my daughter, and he comes over for dinner one night. And I thought, you know what?
Was the gun laying across your lap?
He said, or I said to him, I said, hey, I got a question for you. And right away, all the other kids were like, oh no,
here comes Dad.
Because this is at the mealtime. This isn't like sitting in the, in the living room or whatever. And I said, what's a fork for? And all of the kids just, they burst out with different reactions, and he's looking like this is a serious quiz. Like, what's a fork for? Oh my gosh.
Set up here.
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Let's see. What is a fork for? And he's like, for eating? I was like, yeah, good job. That's right. And I asked a couple more questions, and I said, so what are you for? And this is what's great about it. I had never had this experience. He said, well, hopefully, if things go well, asking your daughter to marry me.
Wow.
Right. So
was this their first date?
No, this is. But it's the value of having those questions, and really, it's not that like those questions are the key. The key thing is that I'm keeping at the forefront of their mind the purpose of their existence.
Yeah, I love that, man. That is so spot on, and I just like the way you coin it that way, with the idea of everything has purpose,
right?
Right, and so what is yours, especially at a young age, because sometimes it is difficult for kids to realize, well, I'm just here to play. I'm just
right.
And the idea that, no, you're here to love God. That's why you were created, to love God. And that's kind of an abstract thought. Like, what do you mean by that? What does that look like? And to start teaching your kids what loving God looks like.
But isn't that cool? Like, we just did a whole show on protection. And man, you are instilling protective values with your kids. So having a boy that is dating your daughter come over and ask those hard questions, ask the questions that dads don't want to ask. Like,
right.
but in the same sense, your daughter now knows that you have her back. Right. That daddy's got my back. He's going to ask the hard questions sometimes. He's gonna pry a little bit. And again, as mundane as some of those questions may be, what is a fork? Well, like, in the same sense, those are values that you have instilled in your kids. But not only are in your kids, you also want those values in someone that wants to be a part of your family. And I think that's really cool.
Very cool.
He told my my other son, my daughter's younger brother, he said, I have never met a girl like your sister. And I think this is because of the way my wife and I have raised her, Right. And he was immediately just really he was totally in love with her, So that gets us to another principle, right? Which is the purpose of being a strong dad is to give your kids friends for life, to give your grandkids uncles and aunts to look up to give your kids a role model for who they should choose to spend the rest of their life with. Those are important decisions. I'm not going to be there when they make them. I'm not going to have a lot of say, but I got to lay the groundwork now.
Yeah. We talk all the time in every show about the generational impact. What's the legacy? And that's what has prompted so much of our work, because it's taken 2 to 3 generations of everything falling apart, of not having these strong dad figures, that everybody just kind of figures it out on their own, right? And they don't do always the best job because they don't have those legacies to look at. So what a great point. Carl, we could get guests like this all the time, guys who just listen and then they go, man, that prompts me. Here's my thoughts. And so I want to be very clear. You don't come to us with any, you're not a professional psychologist. You're not a preacher. You're a businessman. Right. But you're a dad. And you take that very, very seriously because it is your number one job on this earth, right? Besides loving God, and it's the way that you show how you love God,
right?
So I want to just thank you for doing that.
Oh, hey, yes, it's my pleasure. At the end of our life, there's going to just be like probably one word that people will even be able to use to refer to us by, and it's like the dash between your birth date and your death date on the tombstone. Your whole life it's right there in that dash. There's one word that's going to sum up everything about you. What's that word going to be? And you have the choice every day for what that word's going to be. But you know what? You have to make the same. You have to respond the same way every day to that choice. Yeah. So.
Yeah. That is good. We're going to wrap up. I'd like to give you an opportunity to just, if you have any last parting word or advice, or I like the principles that you have laid out there, anything that you want to leave our strong dads with.
Just, the who, what, where, when, why, and how is who. Tell them about God. What? Tell them what they're for. Where? I'd say sit in the front pew all the time, right? be deliberate in that. When? 7,000 times. Why? Always tell them why. And how. Always be reading, always be learning. If you don't spend time learning, you're not going to have anything new to tell your kids, and that's when they're going to start blowing you off. They're going to be like, it's the same old thing with dad. So you always got to be learning. And for example, if you start raising your voice at your kids, that's because you've got no other strategy. Right.
That is so good.
So read, learn, go out and add some tools to your tool belt so you can be a strong dad.
Well, I'm convicted now because every night at dinner, Ava says, "Daddy, what'd you learn today?" And I'm usually like, "Baby girl, I got nothing for you." I learned how to put 2 pieces of wood together, and I learned how to put fire out. Right? But I'm convicted in that because as a dad, man, we have to be challenged in instilling values in our own mind and learning things to be able to teach our kids that. So. All right,
you should be convicted. All right. And I like the idea of what you just said there, Carl, the idea that our kids are always seeking a little bit more. They want to learn more, and the idea that who are they going to go to for that? And when you can bring new things to them, new insights, new challenges, and the idea that they say, and here's what we jump on dads for all the time, what's new with you today? Same old, or same blank, different day, all of that kind of stuff. Eventually your kids say, Dad is the same old.
That's right.
And so there's no reason to go back to that well. That well's stale. Yeah. So great point. Kyle, you got anything for us, man? I mean, come on.
I know. Carl he stole the show.
He stole it. I love the insight.
In all seriousness, man, if you guys are out there, similar to Carl, if you hear our show and something sparks your interest, you don't necessarily have to come on our show as much as we would love to have you guys come on our show, guests. But, man, if you have thoughts, if you have things that are going through your mind, your passions in life, man, send them our way. We would love to tackle some of these topics with you guys. We would love to discuss, try and figure this whole thing about being a dad together. Because we've done whole shows on, and we're not in this by ourselves, right? We're all in this together. We are trying to instill these strong dad values throughout our community, in hopes that it's just a trickle effect that generational, we can instill multiple generations of people who are loving Jesus and loving each other, the way that God designed us to do. So, man, if you guys are out there, you have things you want us to try and tackle, reach out to us. Reach out. I know Rock Solid Families, Merle and Linda would love to talk to you guys. If you're struggling in your marriage or struggling in your personal life, man, reach out, call Rock Solid Families and let them help you. Let Merle and Linda speak wisdom, that's straight from biblical principles into your life.
Yeah, I would say, just as what Carl said earlier, if you are in a situation where you did not have a positive father figure in your upbringing, in your history, don't let that define you in the negative. All right, it can define you, but meaning, as Carl did, he actively took a role to change the definition to a positive. And so come in and let's talk about what that means to you. And let's try to get a new vision for what it's going to be a strong dad in your kid's life. So that's good stuff. We want to thank the Kramer's Beer House and Casey's Outdoor Solutions for allowing us the opportunity to put these kinds of messages out, and for having guests like Carl coming in and just share his heart. And that's what this message was. It was of his heart. That's what makes strong dads strong. Kyle, sign us off.
We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Go out there and be some strong dads.
That's right.
Hey, this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads podcast would love to thank the Kramer's Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Kramer's Beer House was started in 1982 by the Kramer family, and since that time, they have definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, definitely go down to Route 128 and check out the Kramer's Beer House.